Hello there, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Lori Blanford, the Senior Marketing Manager at Dunn Solutions Group, and I'm here to welcome you to today's webinar, which will feature our Higher Education Analytics Framework. Today's presenter is Natasha Kishinevsky, Business Intelligence Manager, and also really our expert on this product. Today's webcast will be recorded, and we will share the link to the recording with you hopefully within the next couple of days. So we invite you to share that with colleagues that were unable to attend today. And if you have an interest in viewing any of our previous webcasts, they are all available for viewing on our website, dunnsolutions.com. If you have any questions during today's presentation, feel free to submit them via the question box that GoToWebinar provides in your toolbar on your screen. Depending on the timing of the webinar, Natasha may have an opportunity to answer a couple or may not, but we do promise to follow up with everyone via email if there isn't time to answer all of them. Okay, so let's take a look at what the presentation will look like. I'll begin with a brief introduction to Dunn Solutions Group, and then I'll turn it over to Natasha. And she will first begin with data analytics challenges for higher education. She'll speak about the framework that we've put together to meet these challenges, and then she'll do a demo of the product as well. Okay, Dunn Solutions has a long history of delivering innovative business technology solutions to companies. We're headquartered just outside of Chicago and have offices in Minneapolis, Raleigh, St. Louis, and Bangalore, India. Our offerings fall into three practice areas. Our application development solutions feature portals, e-commerce, and content-managed websites, mobile application development, and custom application development. Our business intelligence solutions feature analytics and BI platforms, as well as data warehouse and data integration, in addition to advanced and predictive analytics capabilities. We are an authorized SAP and Liferay training provider, and we offer several out-of-the-box analytics frameworks. The Higher Analytics Framework, of course, is one of them. Others include accountable care, one for accountable care organizations, corporate legal departments, and optical shops. We have a history of helping companies leverage their data now for over 25 years. Our business intelligence practice helps deliver information to decision makers throughout your organization so that it runs better. We can help with decision-making by not only looking in the rearview mirror, but also looking forward into the future by leveraging predictive analytics and data mining techniques. Our predictive analytics practice helps companies make the most of their existing data to uncover future trends, risks, and opportunities that result in bigger returns or help avoid big losses. We maintain strong partnerships with top technology companies in order to offer our clients the most innovative solutions available. We spoke earlier that we are an SAP Gold partner. We've been a top-level partner for nearly 20 years. We are an authorized training partner and have classrooms in Minneapolis, St. Louis, and Raleigh. Please contact us for any SAP training needs your company or organization may have. We offer a global delivery model that gives us the flexibility to build teams that are best suited to our clients' timelines, budgets, and preferences. Any projects that utilize offshore resources are always led by someone local and U.S.-based. Our clients, some of which are listed here, are really a combination of Fortune 500, mid-market companies, government agencies, and nonprofits across all verticals. Okay, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Natasha. Again, I welcome everyone who is joining us this afternoon. And let's see, let me give the power of display over to Natasha. Okay, Natasha, are you there?
I am here. I think, Lori, if you can make presenter, for some reason it shows me twice.
It does. Okay, I will make the other. We have a, you have a doppelganger here today.
Yes, we have a, there we go. Now that should be me.
All right. Beautiful photo.
Thank you. Now you should be able to see my screen. You should be able to hear me.
Yes, we can see your screen, although it's not the full screen.
Okay.
All right, everyone, just bear with us while we get the resolution of her screen corrected. Ah, there we go, much better.
Better. Okay, good. So yeah, and if anything happens with the screen, Lori, just let me know. But I'll go ahead and get started right now. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natasha Kishinevsky, and I'm a business intelligence manager here at Dunn Solutions. I have been with the organization for just shy of 9 years, and I played a role of an ETL developer, a data architect, as well as a data warehouse project manager. And I'm responsible in part, amongst other things, for creating this higher ed framework that we will discuss in our webinar today. All right, so just to recap our agenda, we're going to talk about the data analytics challenges for higher education. We're going to review the higher ed framework. This is when I will do a quick demonstration of what's included with the framework, and then we will move on to discussing how does the framework work, and as part of this discussion we will also review what's included in the framework when you actually acquire it. So let's start by talking about some of the things that are challenging to higher ed, to the institutions of higher learning. Cuts to traditional sources of funding kind of urge colleges and universities to start running like a regular business. They have to compete in the market. They have to compete for tuition dollars more than ever. Colleges and universities have a lot of fixed costs. If you think about it, there's lab costs, classrooms, staff, and faculty, and all of those things add up, and it becomes very important to retain and attract students. So attrition and increasing the attrition and graduation rates becomes very important, as well as retaining existing students becomes very important. And as opposed to making decisions on gut feel, it's becoming increasingly important to make decisions based on facts. If we look at the holistic picture of what higher ed, what challenges higher ed experiences, we can break it down into 4 sections. One of them being student acquisition. It's important to measure how your marketing works, how your marketing programs work, and which ones are more successful, which marketing programs actually bring in more students. It's important to measure how many prospects actually become applicants. Not only that, but from those applicants, how many become enrolled students. And in some cases, it's very hard to track that because different systems are involved, systems that accept applications, systems that track enrolled students. So getting that translation in some cases is very difficult to maintain. Another thing that we have to mention here is student retention. It's very important to analyze student retention. To ensure high retention, it's important to pinpoint at-risk students. Noticing those at-risk students becomes highly important because you want to intervene before they actually leave. If you think about it, if a student leaves when they're in their freshman year, you may get a replacement for that seat. But if a student leaves when they're in a junior year, you may not actually be able to fill up that seat with somebody else. Students rarely transfer into a university in their junior or senior years, so you will be left with empty seat with missing tuition dollars. It's also important to track resource allocation, and then what that means is making sure that you are not spending money on resources that are not required. Do you have too many classrooms? Do you have too many faculty and staff? It's important to be able to measure classroom capacities and student to faculty ratios. Completion rates are also very important. We should be able to track student progress all the way to completion. Tracking cohorts becomes increasingly important because you want to make sure that students, when they transfer out from your university, you measure that as opposed to when they transfer from program to program. That type of analysis is very important. To compete with other schools for tuition dollars, it has become increasingly important to rely on analytics. And in a lot of cases, you are already storing and capturing that data. So why is it so difficult to get to the metrics that we just mentioned? Why is it so difficult to get the faculty to student ratio? Why is it so difficult to get the information about retention and prospect to applicant and applicant to enrolled student ratios? It becomes very difficult when you're storing all that information in disparate source systems. Data still exists in these silos, departmental silos. Each department may have their own system of record, and they it may not be consolidated with the rest of the departments. So when data still exists in silos, analyzing that data becomes very difficult, especially for end users. Your end users are expected to be able to merge the data from the different source systems together, which is really not something that business intelligence is all about. So our higher ed framework addresses this by providing a consolidated institutional research database or data warehouse that combines the data from a variety of disparate source systems and brings it into a consolidated, conformed dimensional model. Not only does it consolidate the data, but in the process of populating that data warehouse, the data gets cleansed, the data gets conformed, and history tracking is enabled. So the framework provides you with the capabilities to track history and reporting it in point in time. All right. Now, you might ask a question, can I build something like this from scratch? Well, absolutely. The answer is yes. However, it will take you thousands of man-hours and other resources to do that. If you think about it this way, when you're trying to build a bookcase, do you start by going to the forest and chopping up trees? No, you start with a set, with a Lego set, so to speak. And our framework provides you with just that. It provides you with a jump start that includes things like the starter dashboards and the starter reports. Most importantly, the Kimball star schemas, which is basically the data model for that data warehouse created according to the industry best practices for data warehousing. When you purchase the framework, what you get is data definitional language scripts that you use to create those base tables and the staging tables as well. You also get the processes that are used to populate those tables. More on that will come later, and we'll discuss this in more detail in the webinar today. One thing I want to mention before I move off of this slide is that the framework is a jump start and it's highly customizable. So if there's anything that you would want to do to increase the functionality of the framework, if you wanted to add more metrics or more attributes, you can absolutely do that because you own the underlying structure and the underlying code. All right, as an example, we have deployed a framework like this at a 2-year community college, and the reason why they benefited from a framework like this is because they had a lot of data stored. They had a lot of data captured. The data was actually stored in a variety of different systems. They were using Banner, they were using a recruiting software, and it was very difficult for the end users to get to the information that they wanted. Reporting was very slow and very complex. End users actually gave up on that at some point and relied heavily on their IT department to create reports for them, which made their lives incredibly difficult. So speed and complexity were the main challenges there. What happened with this is when the framework was deployed, when the data warehouse was deployed, it was deployed using HANA, which also increased the performance. They were able to get the information that they were looking for in a matter of seconds as opposed to 40 minutes or over an hour in some cases. So this was a very successful implementation for their end users. All right. So a high-level overview of the higher ed BI framework. We'll discuss this in more detail later on, but just to give you a brief introduction to what's included in the framework includes key metrics, which we have identified by, from working with other schools. We have identified some of the metrics that were deemed as more important. It provides you with a dynamic user experience. There's a number of different approaches you can take to analyzing the data. You can use dashboards, you can use pre-built reports, you can interact with the data. So all of the dynamic user experience provides interactive, easy-to-understand visualizations. With these visualizations, you have the capability to highlight the trends, expose problems, and find other patterns in the data, in the behavior. You With the framework, you also allow your users to create their own ad hoc reporting and analysis. Everything that you see in my demonstration is also available on a mobile device. So we were able to accomplish that, all of these, the presentation layer functionalities, we were able to accomplish that by using the SAP BI suite. So everything that you see in my demonstration was built using the SAP BI suite. The plumbing underneath, the ETL processes were also built using the SAP technology. The last thing that's included in the framework is also support for iPad surveys. Schools on a quarterly basis have to fill out the iPad surveys, and the framework provides you with an automated way to populate the data into those surveys as opposed to having to fill that out manually. When you buy the framework, you get support where we ensure basically that if the survey requirements change, we maintain it to fit the new requirements. All right, how do you interact with the framework? There's a number of ways that you can interact with the analytics within the framework. Different roles will use the platform in a different way. Some of the users will just want to ask a question. They won't have time to create reports. They will just want to log in, ask a question, and create that stream of thought analysis that they with the metrics that they deem important. Others will rely heavily on dashboards. They won't have time to ask questions. They will just want something to appear on their screen that answers the underlying questions quickly. Some users will want to be power users. They will want to build their own reports to support their management. So they will need access to the ad hoc analysis. All these things are provided within the framework. Users will be able to analyze external data. There are features on the platform that allow you to bring in not just data from the data warehouse, but also if you have data sitting in a spreadsheet, you can build that in and merge it with the data from the enterprise data warehouse. Again, everything is available on the mobile device, so when you're on the go, you can get updated anywhere. You don't have to be in your office. You don't have to be in front of the computer. You can be on the go and use your mobile device to answer questions. And lastly, the iPad support. We have included tables in our data model that provide support for iPad surveys. A little more information on the metrics that we have included. We have divided them into 6 groups, 6 logical groups, and these are the metrics that are currently supported within the framework. One of the groups is enrollment. An enrollment category not only tracks current students, but it's also very important to know how many prospects became applicants, as I mentioned earlier. Of those who applied, how many were admitted and enrolled. So all of these things are tracked in the enrollment category. You basically track your students from the time when they fill out an application to the time when they get admitted. And if they get admitted, do they actually choose your school? You can actually track them from that point into the point where they enroll for classes. In enrollment category, we're also tracking FTEs. So we are tracking the credit hours that the students are registered for. And based on your definition of full-time equivalence, we adjust that calculation to fit your requirements. Completion category focuses on student progress. It's giving the ability to track a student from their first term to graduation. It also tracks developmental success, which means if students were originally enrolled in some remedial level courses, we track their progress, and how does that affect their overall success in the school. That's something that helps you pinpoint at-risk students as well. In the academics, we take enrollment to a whole new level, to a more detailed level. So we are measuring enrollment, but also at a course level. We're measuring faculty to student ratio, which is actually measured at a section level, not just at the course and the subject. All of those things can be rolled up and rolled down based on hierarchies that you have, whether you have a higher departmental hierarchy or course hierarchy or location hierarchy and so on. In the academics, we also measure class seat utilization, which is very helpful, especially when you're trying to create schedules for the upcoming terms. If you are looking at how many students are registered when the term registration opens, you can track that student registration rate and apply that to each section. And basically what that allows you to do is, let's say your section capacity is 100 students, and you see that only 50 signed up for that section. you may consider canceling that and enrolling those and suggesting those students to be enrolled in another section. And that works both ways. If you see that a certain section is very popular and is constantly overutilized, you may add another section to that course. So that helps you actually create a schedule and make decisions based on facts as opposed to previous experiences and hunches. In the academics, we also measure average GPA. All right, and the next section is retention. In retention, we measure not just the retention in the school, but also term-to-term persistence. And term-to-term persistence can be measured within a program or within the school or within a college and so on. We also measure transfer rate for the 4-year and 5-year graduation rate. All right, two of the other sections here are financials and faculty, where we measure information about tuition dollars, grants and funding awarded, and we also measure information about faculty, like tenure rate, their salary and benefits, and employee satisfaction as well. To provide dimensional context for analysis, we have included the following dimensions or the following attributes in our data model. Student is one of the most important dimensions here. It provides all the attributes of the student information, student demographics, student age, and so on, student programs that they're registered for, their citizenship status. I mean, there's a number of different attributes that are included here, and when you get the framework, if you see that certain attributes are missing or you're not tracking certain attributes, those can be adjusted based on your particular setup. So the framework is very highly customizable, and all these things can be adjusted to meet your specific needs. One of the other important dimensions here is term. Our analysis, our framework, allows you to track enrollment figures, credit hours, and other metrics not just on a calendar basis, not just on a yearly or on an annual basis or a term basis, but within a term you may have milestones like registration start, term start, midterms, the census date. And all those dates are included in the term dimension, which allows us to conduct that type of analysis. You can answer questions such as, how many students did I have enrolled in my 10th day? Day-over-day analysis, comparing 10th day in 2014 fall to the 10th day in 2013 fall may be very important. We also provide program information, section information. So a lot of these things can be adjusted and molded to meet your requirements, but these are some of the dimensional context we provide for analysis. Why is that so important? If you look at this cube that I have depicted here, and if we try to just retrieve information about student headcount or enrollment figures, if we just look at the headcount by itself, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if we start to surround it with context like course or term or program information, we're able to slice and dice the headcount based on those attributes. Looking at headcount for computer science or for term, that becomes very important. The other thing that we have to mention is that history tracking is enabled in the data warehouse, which means that you can run your reports at any point in time and compare and trend your enrollment and credit hours and other student information. You can see if your student demographics has changed over time. You can see what were your most popular programs year over year. And you can also track your capacity, your classroom capacity year over year and so on. So there's a lot of attributes that help you track history. And the last point here is that the data model is customizable, and it can include additional attributes and metrics. The other thing I want to mention here is nomenclature that you use at your school could be different from what we are using in our data model, and the nomenclature could definitely also be adjusted. Let's say, for example, you are referring to semesters, not terms. So you can actually adjust that nomenclature and then data dictionary for your particular needs. All right, some of the things that kind of prompted us to create the framework, a lot of higher ed customers we had were trying to get information to answer these types of questions. Analyzing headcount and registration, term start, and 10th day. That's something that our framework allows you to do. Just like I mentioned before, we have the term dimension, which has the term milestones. Each school has their own milestones, so we basically would be populating that from your environment, making sure that we meet your requirements on that type of analysis and trending analysis. With student cohorts, it's very important to also be able to measure students belonging to certain cohorts. Students may have majors and may have secondary programs that they've been allocated to. They may switch programs from the beginning to their graduation. You want to be able to track them in their particular programs, but at the same time, you don't want to lose them. You don't want to lose their original cohort as well. So the framework allows you to do that type of analysis here. Tracking financials becomes very important as well. You want to make sure you know where your tuition dollars are coming from, how much money is coming from funding and other sources versus tuition dollars. All right, so let's take a look at some of the things that come with the framework, some of the presentation layer that comes with within the framework. We have been adding new features to our framework recently, and one of the things we've added is analysis with external data sources. So not just ability to analyze data from your data warehouse, but also bringing in other sources as well. And we have included Lumira, which is a SAP's visualization tool. It's a rather new tool, and we've included it in our framework as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch my screen. There we go. Hopefully you can still see my screen.
We can.
Okay. So let me navigate back to my page 1 here. All right, so adding Lumira to our framework allows us to help our customers expand the framework. And basically, if some of the things that you need to analyze don't exist in your data warehouse, you may be able to bring them into this tool from your Excel spreadsheets and so on. And what happens is when you bring your data in, you can manipulate that data. You can perform some operations like cleansing the data. You can profile your data. Let's say, for example, I brought in some data here that has some information on campuses, program choices, strategic programs, and so on. So I can profile that data and see that majority of my student records are actually relying on Bachelor of Arts in Education. So that's kind of the light data profiling that I can do here. I can manipulate my data and do some of the functionality and perform some of the functionality that tools like Excel allow you to perform. Do find and replace, adding, filling and trimming. Some of the other things I can do here, I can create my own custom hierarchies. The tool is actually smart enough to suggest hierarchies for you. What happened here is I brought in some data that had country information. So what this tool suggested is, why don't you create a country hierarchy? So that's what I did. The tool is also smart enough to understand where you have measures versus dimensions, measures versus attributes. Measures can basically be summarized and aggregated. So whenever it finds information that could be a good candidate for a measure, it assigns that qualification to it. So as you can see here, we have credit hours, FTE, and the number of students treated as a measure. We also have a number of different dimensions here that are listed. All right. Once I'm happy with the data, once I'm happy with the data component, with the data preparation, I can start visualizing that data. Before I move on to that, I want to also mention that if certain things don't exist in your data set, you can actually create your own calculations. In this example, I created the FTE calculation by using my credit hours as a base. So I can edit this to show you the formula. Credit hours divided by 15 created my FTE calculation. So I was able to do that directly in this tool. And once I got the information to the point where I'm happy with it, I can start creating a variety of visualizations. You can see that the graphing engine here is very comprehensive. There's a number of different charts that can be used in your different scenarios. For example, if you're trying to create a trend, as I did here, enrollment by term, I would be using either a line chart or an area chart. I use the area chart because I also wanted to demonstrate the program choices here. If you have any information on a geographical basis, you can use the mapping that's included within the tool. In this case, I was using the graph, this particular graph, to see what was the country of origin for most of my students. And it looks like I had some students coming from Canada, from the United States, from Brazil, and from Russia. And if I hover over each one of these elements, I get the value that's associated with it. So again, there's a number of different charts that you can use based on your particular analytics requirements. All right, and you can see that I created a number of different visualizations here. Here's a visualization that basically talks about the FTE and the number of students by program choice. And if I hover over each of these values, I can see both metrics. Right. Now, the tool is also smart enough to suggest related visualizations for you. So if I click on this little light bulb, it's going to tell me, based on the visualization you just created, here's 3 other visualizations that you can choose to create based on the same metrics and dimensions. Here's a number of students by program choice, number of students by grade, number of students by subject. So all of these are related to the number of students. So the tool makes suggestions to you to expand your analysis. The other thing you can do is you can see what attributes influence certain metrics. So for example, I have this number of students, and I can run analysis that tells me that a certain influencer, let's look at that, country of origin is the bigger influence, dashboard term is another influencer for the number of students. So you can basically do some analysis on what types of things influence your metrics. Right? Once you're happy with the analysis you've conducted, you can create these graphically pleasing visualizations that allow for some interactivity. So in this example, let me actually switch back to another page. In this example, I created a board that basically tells me the student's country of origin, as well as the FTE and the number of students by program. And this one actually goes through the analysis year over year. And when I preview this, the nice part about it is it really gives you an idea of what this visualization will look like if you publish it on the browser, which is the first one that I see here, versus when I publish it to a tablet. And here's what it will look like on a tablet in a vertical view. And this is what it would look like if I publish it to a mobile device. So it gives you a nice comprehensive view of what these analytics and visualizations will look like when you publish them onto the specific devices that you plan to use. Some of the other visualizations that you have here, you can focus your attention on a subset of information. Let's say, for example, here I want to look at the grade distribution and at-risk students for degree-seeking students only. So I can filter out just degree-seeking students, and the information here will change based on that. I can also filter by academic year. So in this case, I'm picking out academic year 2012. All right, and everything that you're filtering out and focusing your attention on is basically displayed at the top here. So the idea is that this particular tool comes with the framework, and you can create your own analytics here, and you can expand even the information that's included in the data warehouse by adding your own, bringing it from your Excel spreadsheets and so on. All right. All right, so we talked about visualizing the data. in one way. Now I'm going to switch over to looking at the data and performing the stream of thought analysis. So everything that I'm going to do from this point on is going to be based on a browser. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my browser, and Lori, let me know if you can still see my browser screen. All right, I'm hoping that you can see the browser.
There may be a delay, but we are still seeing the slide explore your data stream of thought analysis.
Okay, I'm going to give it a second here.
Yep, and now it's the SAP BI login screen.
Perfect, perfect. That's where we want to be. So what we're going to do now is we're going to log into the platform.
Oh, excuse me, Natasha. It's the minimized view once again. We just need to get it to full screen.
Okay. All right. How about now?
We're just seeing the bicycle image, but it's still the minimized view.
It's probably catching up.
So it looks like we're looking at the, or we were looking at the BI homepage.
Okay, perfect. All right, sorry for the delay, everyone, but here we are. One of the things that I want to start the demonstration with is showing you how easy it is to find the information that you're looking for by just simply asking a question. So I'm going to log into my platform here. And instead of finding a report or finding a dashboard that I'm looking for that I need, I'm simply going to ask a question. I want to know how many credit hours that my students register for in fall of 2012. So let's look for credit hours 2012 fall. And when I do this search, the platform basically goes through the information that I have indexed within the framework, within the data warehouse, or whatever the case may be, and it finds the data that matches my search string. In this case, it found credit hours, it found 2012 fall, and whenever it finds the search results, it assigns a score. So the higher the score, and right now we only have one search result, but if you have more, it assigns a score based on how many words it finds in the data set. So what happens is it's not just looking at the field names and the table names, but it's actually looking at the actual data inside those tables, inside those fields. As you can see here, 2012 fall is simply a record. It's just it's a term that's included in the term table. So what I can do now that I have the search result in front of me, I can start exploring this data and analyzing it even further. When I open up this particular search result, the information is given to me in two ways. There's the graphical representation of the data at the bottom, and also there's the tabular representation at the top here, where I can scroll through and browse through some of the attributes that I have in my data warehouse. Now, I searched for credit hours, and this is what I'm starting with. Also, you look for, if you see that 2012 fall is actually highlighted in orange, which means that basically that's what I looked for, and that's the information that's highlighted for me. But what if I wanted to add to this analysis? What if I don't just want to look at credit hours, but I also want to look at the number of students? I can easily add that in, and looking at the different charts that I have available for me, let's pick the one that has a star next to it, because it looks like that's the best option to displaying this type of information. So here we go. Now we have a double axis chart. And if I wanted to focus on my visualization and close down my tabular information, I can expand this and start working with the visualization itself. Let's say I didn't want to look at it by dashboard terms, but instead I want to look at this information by programs, because I wanted to see what was my enrollment based on the different program choices. All right, so here we go. It looks like Bachelor of Arts in Education was the most popular one. What if I wanted to focus my attention on these lower ones? I can simply conduct my analysis by doing that. Now, within a few clicks, I was able to get to the information that I wanted, and the idea behind this is that it's all based on the same data source. It's all based on the consolidated data warehouse, which is dedicated for this reporting. That's why you're getting this information rather quickly, and you're able to do this without having to write in SQL, without having to know where this information is stored, without having to know how the tables are joined and all other technical features of the data warehouse. You're basically using these front-end visualization tools to be able to create your analysis on the fly. All right? All right, so just to recap, if we go back to our dashboard, one of the other things that's included in the framework is the ability to consume the information via dashboards. Dashboards are usually used by executives and those people who really don't have time to ask questions and create reports. Dashboards are there to display the information for you in a very easy-to-read, interactive manner. The framework comes with 4 predefined dashboards. The dashboards around enrollment, around applicants, admissions, and graduates, capacity, as well as faculty KPIs. The first one that I'm going to look at is the enrollment dashboard, which basically gives you the demographics, the market segments, and the distribution of students per program based on different terms. And what happens here is you can compare your current term to the term that you are selecting from this slider. And when you select a different term, the retention figure will change based on that term. So not only are you looking at the enrollment rates, enrollment figures, but you're also looking at retention rates. And you have the interactivity here provided that allows you to select from different terms. You can also switch from fall to spring terms and analyze spring terms here. And if you wanted to retrieve more information or more detailed information about the enrollment figures, you can do so by linking this to a detailed report, which is what we've created here. So more information about enrollment is included in the report. And this is done to basically make the dashboards easy enough to read, but giving you the ability to investigate why certain numbers are low or why certain programs are not performing as well as they should be. You can actually investigate that by clicking on the detailed report and getting the information that way. Here's another dashboard that comes with the platform, with the framework, and that's the applicants, admissions, and grads. Here you can select the academic year and the term, and this provides you with a scorecard. It basically compares your current term to the previous and calculates the trend, whether the trend is going up or whether it's going down. All right. Another one is the capacity dashboard, which basically allows you to track your number of rooms, number of locations, also capacity based on day and hour utilization. All right, so you can look at your sections by meeting times, locations, and so on. And there's also interactivity here. You can select from different terms, and you can narrow down to a specific department that you're interested in. The faculty KPI dashboard allows you to track faculty headcount as well as salary by program. And it also allows you to track the employee satisfaction rate. Now, all these dashboards that we've created here can be customized. So if certain metrics that we've displayed here are not important to your institution, you can replace them with others that are available in the data warehouse. You can also change the look and feel of the dashboards. Right now, we've basically made them very generic, but you can apply your own styles and colors and logos and so on. All right. And I seem to be having difficulty with my slides here. Give me just 1 second. All right. So while I'm waiting for my slides to come back, we're going to review some of the other things that we have created in the framework. The framework does come with predefined reports as well, not just dashboards. And those reports provide more detailed information about the KPIs and about the attributes that are included in the data warehouse. If you find that a certain report is not there, or if you wanted to create your own, you can absolutely do that when you have the framework in place. And I'm just going to go and walk through a process for creating a new ad hoc analysis report. So if we wanted to build our own report, all we have to do is figure out which objects or which items do we need to include in that report. So let's say I wanted to find out what were my most popular programs by term. And I can do that by measuring the enrollment figures for those programs. So let's start with bringing in the terms, and then I'll bring in the program, and then I will bring in the number of students. Before I execute this query, I want to point this out. The framework comes not just with these pre-built visualizations, but one of the important things here is the semantic layer that sits between the data warehouse and the visualizations. And that semantic layer is what enables the users to empowers the users to create their own analysis on the fly. When I'm doing this, as well as when I was doing exploration here, I don't have to write SQL. I don't have to know SQL. I don't have to know how the tables are joined. All I need to know is what objects I need to include in my report. And in this case, I wanted to include the dashboard term, the program choice, and the number of students. That's all, and that's all I need to know. And right now, when I run this query, I will get the information almost instantaneously, because one of the things that the data warehouse allows you to do is create these reports quickly and retrieve data quickly. It's optimized for quick data retrieval. All right, so what I wanted to do here is I wanted to find out what were my top 3 most popular programs. So within a few clicks, I will be able to do just that. I'm going to rank my information, and I wanted to rank them within each term. So within each term, I have these 3 programs. It looks like Bachelor of Arts in Education was my most popular program all along. I have to mention here that all of this is based on sample data, so data is completely fake. However, you know, it's related to it's populated within the data warehouse, within the higher ed framework data warehouse. Now, when you're creating ad hoc reports, you may not just be interested in looking at the tabular display of information. Maybe you wanted to create some charts. I can show you that it's very simple to create charts here as well. Within a few clicks, I'm going to be able to have a chart here that I can use. Now, I can create interactivity. I can add interactivity to these reports by providing some parameters here. So let's say I wanted to look at one term at a time, as opposed to looking at everything here. So I'm going to create a drop-down box. Or I can select different terms. And once I select different terms, the information in my report will change based on my selection. So this provides some interactivity to your end users. You can create reports for other people to consume in addition to the reports that are provided within the framework. So just to recap, the framework does provide you with pre-built dashboards and pre-built reports, the ability to create your own ad hoc reports, and the ability to create explorations. So all of those things are possible with the use of the data model and the semantic layer that comes with the framework. All right. All right, so we looked at the dashboards, we looked at ad hoc reporting. I want to make sure that everybody is aware that everything that you've seen in this demonstration is actually available on a mobile device. There is no additional development time that's included. Basically, any report, any dashboard that you build on the platform is automatically going to be available on a mobile device. So there's no additional development time. And you can see here I've added some screenshots of what it looks like on a mobile device. All the interactivity and all the information is going to be the same because it's based on the same framework, the same platform, and the same, it relies on the same security mechanism. So the exploration, the dashboards, and the reports are all available. You can collaborate with the other users within the organization, pointing out their attention to certain items of interest. The last thing that I wanted to mention here is the framework does support IPEDS extracts. All right, so what will you get? When you purchase the framework, you will get the Kimball Star schema, the data warehouse, that's going to be customizable, scalable, and robust. You can add your own attributes and metrics to the framework. You also get the BI suite from the SAP BI suite. Our presentation layer was built using the BI suite, which is a full-featured BI platform. The higher BI framework architecture includes the presentation layer, where you see the dashboards and ad hoc capabilities and reports. It also includes the semantic layer that makes the presentation layer possible, makes it so easy to create ad hoc reports and visualizations. It comes with the industry best practice data warehouse, which can be deployed on any relational database or HANA or SAP IQ. It also comes with data integration processes that basically allow us to populate the data warehouse with your data. At a more detailed level, the framework comes with 4 pre-built dashboards, 20 pre-built reports, single information space, which allows you to do explorations, the semantic layer, and also the data model. So the data model is really the most important piece here because it does support all the rest of the items in the framework. So what happens is when you purchase the framework, you get the data definitional language for creating the staging and data warehouse databases. The scripts that we provide actually contain indexes as well as referential integrity for your data warehouse. You also get the core ETL code, which is used to populate the data in the data warehouse. And with the framework, you also get the implementation services, which include installing and configuring the framework on in your environment. All right, so what's next? Work with us to buy and deploy the Higher BI framework. Typically, the process of deploying the framework takes about 8 to 10 weeks. And what happens during those weeks is we install the framework, we install the platform, the SAP BI platform, we install the framework, staging databases as well as the data warehouse database, and we plug in your source systems into the data load processes.
Natasha, do you mind just refreshing, because we're still on the mobile BI slide. I just want to make sure that everyone has a visual of what's included with the framework.
All right, can you see my screen now?
No, it hasn't changed. Oh, there's a delay. There we are. Okay, yeah, we're looking at the architecture slide.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so let me actually navigate back to this slide just to make sure that everybody can see what's in the box. As I mentioned, the 4 pre-built dashboards, the core ETL code, the data model, the implementation services, and all of that is included in the framework. And also, if you purchase maintenance with the framework, we update it with the latest releases of the SAP BI platform, as well as updates to the iPad's extraction. All right, I think we do have a few minutes for some questions.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to submit them via the question box in the toolbar. We did have a couple of questions, and I think they're both asking the same thing around customizing the metrics or the reports and KPIs.
Yeah, absolutely. The framework can be customized to include additional KPIs and to update the existing dimensions and metrics as well. So if there are certain KPIs that you are interested in seeing, we can absolutely work with you to add those into the data model. We've created the data model with certain placeholders, so it's going to be a process for adding those new metrics in. So that's definitely possible. As a matter of fact, we encourage you, when you have the framework, we encourage you to start using it, and when you start using it, you will end up adding more dimensions and more metrics to your framework.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Any additional questions? Doesn't appear so. So thank you very much, Natasha. That was very helpful, and it was a great overview of the higher education analytics framework. And we're certainly willing to do a more in-depth demonstration for anyone that is interested in learning more for their organization. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, this presentation was recorded, and we will share that link with everyone, as well as a PDF of the slides that Natasha presented. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate your time this afternoon, and I'll follow up with you in the next couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you.